You are the doctor, they say, who can work miracles.
Maybe 1% of vision remains. She reminds me of Lily. If I can help Kajal out of the dark, maybe I can help Lily.
Hai, selamat pagi anda. Sedang menonton Awani Pagi bersama saya Nur Syazwani Saifusham dan juga penampilan istimewa hari ini.
Yang kedua mungkin di Awani Pagi.
Di Awani Pagi, Nabila Khalidah dan pastinya dalam Awani Pagi hari ini Nabila kita nak bercakap berkenaan dengan industri hiburan. Betul. Tapi di sudut persada global yang mana seorang penerbit filem Malaysia iaitu Rachel Tan yang berpangkalan di Amerika Syarikat baru-baru ini menerbitkan sebuah filem yang bertajuk Sight.
Dan filem ini dikatakan dia akan tayangkan lebih di 2,000 program di Amerika Syarikat dan pastinya Syazwani kita nak tahu apa kisah di sebalik tayangan filem ini. Jadi kita akan bersama dengan penerbit filem itu sendiri, seorang pasangan suami isteri yang datang jauh dari Amerika Syarikat. Kini dalam studio Astro Awani iaitu Rachel Tan dan juga Denmark pengasas King Street Pictures. Thank you so much for coming to our studio this morning. How are you guys?
Hello, thank you. It's great. It's like I'm coming home, you know.
Dan, how are you?
I'm very good. Thank you for having us.
Good to hear that. Anyway, maybe we can start with Rachel first. You're from Seremban. We talked about it just now, and then to London, and then on to Hollywood now. Yes. So, what inspired you to make the leap from beauty queen to a lawyer, now a film producer? So, what was it like, the transitioning?
Right. So it's so funny coming back here to Astro because, like, you know, my career basically started when I walked through your North Gate for audition for Miss Astro. Right.
That was 20 years ago.
I think so. Around 20 years ago. Like 2 decades just passed like that. You know. I was Miss Astro Malaysia. Then I went to Hong Kong. I won at TVB and. You know, and then after that I joined Jackie Chan Group. You know. In the meantime, I got my law degree. I went to Cambridge. And then after that, I'm a film producer, right? But all these things is just, I feel like, just driven by passion, I suppose. Like, I don't think being a lawyer is what, I think it's what my parents always thought I was good at, you know, because I, like to debate, apparently, since I was young, and they thought I'd enjoy it. And then after that, I joined the pageant and I realized like I really, really love, on-camera work, and just love the industry. It's like TV and movies. I loved it. It stemmed from like a long time ago when my parents would like take me to movies every week. We watch TV, and my aunt used to say that I want to be a director. I guess I didn't know what a producer was. Okay. So, and then after that, being on camera for a while, I decided to also be a back of a camera. I was a production assistant to directors. I was an interpreter between Hollywood producers and Hong Kong directors. And I realized like, wow, making a film is like, it takes a village. It's a beautiful thing. Like you don't see a lot of it as a talent, So, and then I fell in love with that process. So now I'm also a film producer.
Amazing story. Yeah. And I hope your parents are okay with you being a producer.
Well, no? they were okay. They were not okay with me being an actress. So now then. They're like, okay, but then they're always cutting all the newspapers and like collecting them if they're not okay, And now a producer, actually, they're very happy with that too. And we also own our own entertainment law film, so we lead both lives, but they intertwine too because we do legal for many movies, and sometimes we are producers on it.
And as for Dan, what's your background that influenced your approach towards the film industry? Just now we heard about Rachel's story. So how about you, Dan?
Yeah, I first entered the industry as an entertainment lawyer. So I was at an entertainment law firm, and then after that, I was in-house attorney at the studio at Warner Brothers Studios. So she always likes to joke that I was like, Harry Potter's lawyer and the Looney Tunes lawyers, Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, kids love that.
So yeah, I mean, I think it was something that I always wanted to do. I think very early on, even in college or university, I really wanted to go and work at a film studio. So I interned at Universal Studios when I was in uni. And then I said, that's my goal to go back there. I eventually went back as an attorney. But then after that, I really found the passion of producing and making the content, making the actual stories that can influence the world.
Yeah. Before we go in depth for the movie Sight, both of you are in legal work for this industry. how do you work as a couple, especially on the legal work, film production, and also, you know, being in home together? Does that requires you to discuss more on legal and also film production at home as a couple?
Yeah, there are pros and cons for sure. We hope that that's more pro, because like we're almost interchangeable. So no, I'm kidding. Like when one is at home is needed, the other one can do everything. Like from legal to producing, we know exactly where we left off. Each, like, we're almost like, you know, so that's great, right? And every time we have like double, right? I think that's cons for me. Sometimes like he just doesn't turn it off, right? He like talk. Sometimes I have to draw boundaries, like just 12 midnight. I refuse to talk about work, but you know, we're so passionate about being, you know, a producer. More than being a lawyer, so like it doesn't feel like work. So that's the best part about producing movies. It's like when you're working, it doesn't feel like work, and you never turn it off. And that's unlike like if you're a lawyer, you're kind of counting billing by the hours. Where like we just want to talk about it till midnight and beyond. Sometimes 2 a.m. I was like, I can't sleep already. If you talk till 12, I can't sleep till 2. So you know, that's a con about it, I think.
I think there's a lot of families that have the same career between two parents. Like my sister and her husband are both doctors, so their kids probably hear a lot of doctor talk, but our kids hear a lot of entertainment talk. So our daughter's always like, so what's going on with that distribution deal? Hey, which actor did you meet today? So it's like, even at age 9, she's already showing a lot of interest in the industry. And I think
she's lead actress in her musical, in her school little musical.
Yeah, so it's nice. I mean, every family has something different to talk about at the dinner table, but for us, it's what we do, and we really love it. It's just something that we're passionate about.
I think being a couple, we completely understand each other's schedule. When we shoot, it's like we're flying to Vancouver, flying to, you know, last time we shot in KL, we're doing 16 hours a day, right? And leading up to that, it's even worse. You can't turn it off until it's done. It's like so intense. It takes so much toll, it takes a toll on people, right? And if you're not in the industry, I feel like it's a little bit harder to understand, you know? And for us, it's like, I completely understand his pressure and where he's coming from. So I think that really helps.
Yeah, I think the background goes hand in hand though, especially in America, because contracts are so important in the US. Everything is based on a contract. I think that really gave us a good entry point to understand how it works to make deals with different big stars and stuff like that. So that was something that's very useful. Yeah.
But I can really see that the passion lives in you guys about film industry. But I want to know, ever since you guys founded the King Street Pictures in 2016, so how was the process or the progress of creating the first film? How was it? How was the process like? Was it hard? Was it? Can you share the whole process of making it?
The first one. So I guess we started as we started as associate producers. You know, we actually really worked from the bottom up. I worked from a script development assistant to like, you know, associate producer. What happened was like I was an actress in a movie. There's a co-production between Hong Kong and Hollywood. So then when that same director, he wanted to have another co-production between Hong Kong and Hollywood, he called me for legal, because he's like, hey, I heard you're a lawyer now, you know, can you help me? And we started helping them at legal, and then later business, you know, we gave business advice, because it does come hand in hand, like business and law, right? And then soon we're like, hey, your script is kind of like, you know, needs this kind of adjustments. And we're like, oh, really? And then we started like developing script with them, and they're like, okay, you know, why don't we bring you on as associate producers, you know, and give you that credit? And that's how the first movie happened. And I don't think that was hard. I think being hard was when you're like, I feel like the head producer, like when the buck stops with you right now, I think, yeah, now the work is really hard.
Yeah, because then, for example, like our last film, Worth the Wait, that had starred Lana Condor and Ross Butler, and that we shot here in Malaysia, you know, we made a choice that we really wanted to film part of it in KL, because that's where Rachel's from, and we wanted to show Malaysia to the world. It's something that she was really passionate about. But those kind of decisions are tough. It's like, well, is it going to pay off? Are people going to respond to that? Are people, especially in the West, what do they know about Malaysia? Maybe they don't know anything about it. And so those are all choices that weigh heavily with you when you're the main producer, but it's something that we really believe in, and why we love producing is that you have the opportunity to shape what the world thinks by the content that you create. So the producers are the ones that champion the material, champion the kind of stories that go out there, and that's why we wanted to champion a story that took place partially in Malaysia, especially, you know, with her background growing up here.
Yeah. Also, when we talk about the movie Sight, we understood that it was an inspired story from Dr. Ming. So what inspires you guys to have the story of Dr. Ming to feature in a film, especially with now, you know, every aspect is going to look at how Southeast Asian is also the highlight of the film. So how do you, what inspired you guys?
Meeting.
Yeah, I think for Sight, I mean, what really inspired us was the doctor's 1 in a million story. I mean, he came from overcame incredible odds in China, growing up with you know, poverty and the challenges of living in that time in China. And I think what really inspired us and what speaks to us about the story is the Asian American heart of it. And that's something that we fought really hard for, was what was the story about him coming to America? What is it special about his background that allowed him to succeed as a 1 in a million? Because he started out from those humble beginnings and ended up inventing techniques that restored sight to millions of people around the world. So I think that's very inspiring. And for us, our piece is always trying to elevate Asians and Asian representation in media, especially from the West, because they don't understand Asia that well. And I think that the more that Asian Americans can do to bridge that gap between East and West, that's really the role that we see ourselves in.
When I went to America, I didn't really understand the fight or the cause for Asian Americans, because, you know, we're always majority in Asians are majority in Asia, you know. But then as like I gave birth to my daughter and then my son, I realized like it just weighed heavily on me. Like, I don't want her to be treated as the other when she's just as American as can be, as any American possible, right? So that's why I thought like, okay, so much of America was built by Asian Americans, like Silicon Valley, like majority of Silicon Valley, you know, science, technology, and all that. So, but we're rarely in front of the camera telling, like, we're rarely the protagonist of the movie, you know. We're always like the sidekick, the best friend, the IT guy, the delivery man, you know. So, and what really attracted me to this movie was like Dr. Ming's character, who's like so resilient, overcame odds. You follow him from cradles to, you know, to now, right? And he's layered, he's complex, you know. He's not just one-dimensional, you know. And he's overcome all these stuff, but he still carries, like, if you watch a movie, like the past with him, you know. And there's so much, like, we are so much more than just like one stereotypical character, and we really wanted to showcase that to the world.
And we watched the trailer, to be honest, just now, and we're already somehow emotionally attached to it.
Exactly.
And I mean, being behind, correct, and we want to, can't wait to watch the whole movie. But being the person behind the camera, what was the most fulfilling moment, or perhaps the most challenging at the same time, in making this movie? And what kind of critics or response do you expect from the audience?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's already been, audiences have really responded to it in America already, so it's already grossed over 7 million USD in the US. We have a release on August 1st in Singapore.
Our audience score is 98%.
Yeah, on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow, Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, and then you're saying in Singapore.
Yeah, we have a Singapore release, and then we hope to still be able to release it here if we can, here in Malaysia. But I think the most encouraging thing for us was the stuff that we really fought for when we were adapting the book into the script, into the screenplay. Some of those things, they made it into the final film, and that was something that we were really proud of, because those were the parts that audiences told me, I cried when I watched that, you know? So I feel like the more that you can connect with people's hearts, that's when you've really done something meaningful. You've told a story that counts, you know? And I think that's something that we're really proud of when people would tell us, I watched the movie and I cried. Like one of my guy friends, he never cries, or he told me I watched it and I cried. I mean, that's really the power of media and the power of storytelling, is to really connect with people's hearts. And so I think that's the most satisfying thing about it, is we put something good out into the world that's gonna hopefully inspire people.
You want to add on something to it?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it was really finding a great home for it, because you just really never know. You bring up a child, you don't know where he's gonna go, you know, and like how it's gonna do outside, you know, how are they gonna do in school, like just like, so you think you did all that you can, but you know, at the end of the day, you don't know. So when we found a great home with Angel Studios and with 2,100 theaters and above, it's really almost like it's a huge achievement for the, especially for an indie film that's with Asian American protagonist, you know. So that was like more, I think like more than my mind could imagine, or my ears have heard, like when I first started it. Because when I first started, I didn't think about like, okay, what success is going to be. Like we just really want to tell the story. But when it had outperformed what we actually first started, we expected when we first started, it's really satisfying.
Okay. We'll talk more later in a bit. Kita akan beristirahat seketika, kita kembali lagi selepas ini.
Bila kerja sendiri, semua kena buat sendiri. Tapi, bersama rakan niaga, semuanya dapat ditempuhi bersama.
University Malaya UM is expected to offer a cardiothoracic specialist training course this October.
There will be no U-turn on the implementation of the Vehicle Entry Permit VEP for all foreign vehicles entering Malaysia from Singapore.
Diesel sales at petrol stations have decreased by 30% within the first week of the fuel subsidy rationalisation on June 10th.
Apa nasib harimau Malaya? Hidup makin terasing. Ngaumannya semakin sayup. Sang Raja Rimba meniti hidup di hujung zaman. Saksikan laporan Masa Depan Si Belang di Awani 744.
Baik, bertemu kembali dalam Awani Pagi dan kita masih lagi dalam perbincangan mengenai satu filem yang diterbitkan dari Amerika Syarikat di mana kita bawakan talent-talent dari Asia sendiri untuk kita bawakan di peringkat persada antarabangsa, dan kita masih lagi bersama dengan tetamu kita iaitu Rachel Tan dan juga Denmark, founder kepada King Street Pictures. We're still in the conversation of this film of sight that were introduced or created by both of you. So far, what do you think the representation of Southeast Asian talent in Hollywood evolving, or are there any progress, or how do you aspire, or do you foresee the outlook of the future of these Asian talents?
Well, first, like, you know, we have so much to be proud of. Like, we have Michelle Yeoh, like, that's crazy, right? You know, she's basically the queen right now, reigning queen, right, in a whole world, right? And, you know, we have Ronnie Cheng, Henry Golding, we have Adele Lim. I mean, I can count, but I feel like there needs to be more, for sure. Our stories need to go out there. I feel like right now we're actually riding an amazing Asian wave that it was probably opened by Crazy Rich Asian. Before that, Joy Luck Club, but then we had like a long, like, quiet time. And now I think it's a unique opportunity to not just feature, you know, the East Asians, but just like our Southeast Asian stories, right? Our culture is so rich, and that's why when we come back to Malaysia, we really try to meet with like different local talent and find stories and find like novels and books. Just like yesterday, we were at Malaysian International Film Festival, and we were talking to all the directors, and because we wanted really to be a bridge between, you know, our world and Hollywood, you know, because they need someone to guide them, right? They don't. So that was what I plan to do and hope to do, you know, being the bridge between the East and West, to be able to bring more Southeast Asian talent to the world, you know, to show it to the world.
Dan, you've been in Malaysia for a while as well, if Rachel comes back here, right? So what advice could you give to especially aspiring filmmakers in Malaysia? Because as we can see, maybe the entertainment industry in Malaysia is actually getting there, you know. But what are the biggest challenges or biggest gap between wherever you're from before and also Malaysia?
Well, like I said, I think there's a lot to celebrate. And I think there's some films that have been getting into major film festivals from Malaysian filmmakers. So I think it's a lot of it is just continue following your dreams, continue pursuing it. Don't let anyone tell you that just because you're from Southeast Asia, you can't do something. There's people from smaller countries that have actually started to change the world in the film industry. And it's about telling something that's true to yourself, you know, whatever that may be. Telling that story that's authentic. I think people can sniff out what's authentic and what's not. When you tell something from the heart that's authentic, and even if it's representing, you know, your people group or wherever you come from, that's actually very interesting to Western audiences. They really love seeing something that shows them a different world that they don't know. And so I think the more that, you know, Malaysians and Southeast Asians can really say, hey, this is my story, this is my community, I think people will really gravitate towards it, because after all, we're all human. We all connect on the same things, you know, and I think it's just about, again, touching that heart and finding that universal story, even in something that's very specific. So I think I hope that they continue to go forward, continue to put themselves out onto the international stage, and however we can help to support that, we'd love to as well.
Yeah, because we write what you know, right? And that's why we try to do as well with Worth the Wait. It's actually like an ensemble love story, but one of the love stories are based on our real life story, which is like, a long distance relationship, right? Between between me in Asia and him in
the US.
US, you know. So that's why we want it really to be authentic as well to the journey. Like, although Malaysia's far, I was like, okay, we want to go back there and like, you know, tell the true story. You know, just like, even though it is universal, a love story, but we're very specific to our own like journey of like that long distance and the little like things that couple with long distance face. So, and that's why, exactly what he said, right? Write what you know.
Write what you know.
What I know juga. But I mean, let's be real. Creating a film production house in the US is not as easy, perhaps, in Malaysia. So how do you stay grounded and compete with all these big names? We have Warner Bros, we have Universal Studios that you interned in. So how do you stay competitive with all these big names, and how do you accept criticisms, especially?
Well, when they all started out, they were just like us too, right? Warner Brothers were brothers. That's why they got the name Warner Brothers, right? So I feel like everyone has to start somewhere. There's humble beginnings are never looked down upon for anyone. And so we have those aspirations, those dreams. Maybe someday we would be like a Warner Brothers or Universal. We never know, right? And I think every person who cares about film, who loves telling stories, you know, they could be that person too. You know, Shaw Brothers too, right? That was a Brothers as well. So I think it's about, you know, with every film you learn, right? You learn your best, you take those lessons and you make your next project better. And I think that's the way that you grow as a filmmaker, is to take the best feedback, but the ones that don't help you, just let those go. Because ultimately, the only person that's ever going to be able to tell your story is you, and other people don't understand. So if you're really truly an artist, you understand what matters to you and what stories you want to tell, and stay true to those things. That will shine through. That authenticity and passion is what's going to make people want to watch your content. You don't have to conform necessarily. You should tell something that is important to you. You know?
Lastly, maybe, well, Rachel, you're actually Malaysian, right? Now that you've worked in the biggest film industry, which is in US, maybe do you have any plans to work together or maybe collaborate with Malaysian
film productions?
Oh, for sure. I'm like actively looking for collaborations. That's why, you know, I'm like going to film festivals and all that. Like, we are working on 2 projects. One of it, it's based on in Silicon Valley, but the other one is sort of like a vacation movie that we can happen anywhere, like Americans going on vacation. So we would love to bring it to you know, my home country, and you know, find a co-production partner and to work on it and showcase our beautiful people, our culture, our food. You know, that's always been my aspiration.
Yeah, and we did that a little bit with Worth the Wait, you know, when we brought Lana Condra and Ross Butler here to shoot last year in KL. You know, it was purposely wanting to connect the 2 worlds, you know, and I think people really responded well when they were here. They were so happy to see that stars they recognized from Netflix films here shooting in Malaysia, and so we want to do more of that. And so we look forward to partnering, telling stories that are authentic to this place, and yeah, bringing more spotlight on Southeast Asia, which it deserves.
Maybe we can.
Amazing.
We have one more question. We have time. Yeah.
Perhaps we can do a little shout out on your latest project or work that you're working on, the 6th film, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
anything you want to say to the audience?
Is it worth
the wait? Yeah.
Yeah, okay, you go.
Yeah, so I think our next project is called Worth the Wait. It's an ensemble romantic comedy. We like to think of it as like a Love Actually, but with an all-Asian cast. So it stars Lana Condor, Ross Butler, and we have Andrew Koji from the Warrior series, Sung Kang from Fast and the Furious, LD Young from The Cleaning Lady, and also Karina Lam from Hong Kong. And it's directed by Tom Lin, who is a Golden Horse winning director from Taiwan in his US debut. Partially shot here in KL, so it has a Malaysia storyline. And the thing that I think I would love for people to see when they watch it is we really want it to be authentic to Malaysian themes. So the director wanted Lana to try durian for the first time ever. She had never tried durian in her life. Okay. So one of the scenes in our movie that I look forward to you guys watching is he literally told her, don't eat any durian until you come on set. We want your very first durian to be on camera. And we recorded it, and it's in our movie now, and it's priceless. So we really look forward to people seeing it because it's a very Malaysian food, and so it's something that Ross, who's half Malaysian, was really excited for her to try as well. So that's something that people can look forward to, and we're really excited to share that story with the world. Yeah.
We had so much fun shooting Worth the Wait. It was like a summer camp. If we have like an ensemble where all the stars who are stars of their own TV show and their own movie trilogy come together, it's actually not. Like everyone's saying how's it going to be, right? Who's number one? But then at the end of the day, they say, oh, this is like a summer camp. And they start like hanging out after work. And even Lana and Ross, when they were in Malaysia, like Ross stayed way beyond after in Malaysia. He loved it so much. He's also half Malaysian, but he doesn't visit often, right? And then Lana was like, basically, she said, this is not even work. This is just like a vacation, It feels like a vacation. So, the chemistry was great. So I really am looking forward to the audience to see like the chemistry that will come on screen as well, And for us, like on a more serious note, I feel like this movie showcases like love story, not just like ours, but people, the teenagers, the 20s, when you're in 30s, when you're 40s, like you have different challenges and the different, love after marriage. We talked about, conceiving and things that people don't, the challenges of conceiving and all that. Like you don't really see that on screen a lot, like raw depiction of how hard it is, or how hard long distances, and we just want it to be like true to our story, and then I hope that our insincerity would come through.
Shazani, we're lucky enough to get a little bit of spoilers of the movie. Yeah. And I think that wraps up the whole conversation, and thank you so much. And I wish you all the best with the Worth the Wait. And hopefully you can see it in Malaysia soon.
Yes. Soon.
Hopefully soon.
All right. Thanks again to Rachel Tan and also Denmark for the inspiring stories as well. Dan saya kira itu antara perkongsian yang pastinya kita harapkan dapat membuka mata, terutamanya industri hiburan tempatan untuk terus menempah nama di persada antarabangsa. Dan Nabila, itu saja perkongsian yang dapat kami bawakan hari ini. Sekian, saya Nur Syazwani Safisham.
Saya Nabila Khalida. Kita jumpa lagi. Bye.